Ready to start? Good morning, fellow Toastmasters, and if there's any guests here, it is my great pleasure and honor to introduce our presenter for today. I will tell you, there are some people that are icons with Toastmasters. You come to a conference and you kind of look for their face, or even if you're not looking for their face, you see them somewhere and you go, I remember him from last time, I remember her from last time. And that is Ken for me, Ken Krawchuk. Every time I've come to a conference in the last 7 years, I would see his face, most energetic Toastmaster that I would know. And there are some others, but I would just always kind of, he doesn't know that I was just peeping at him all the time. And learn and grow and develop. And you just see those Toastmasters that make you want to strive to achieve more and more. And Ken has been that for me. He has been a part of Toastmasters for 17 years as of November 1st. It's been 17 years for him, 6,224 days. But Ken is also the founder of the Libertarian Toastmasters, and is still a current member and a very active member, been active with the district, and just doing such wonderful things. And I even found out something else. He's been married to his lovely bride for 37 years.
Is the applause for Roberta or for Ken?
For both of them. But today, I don't want to take up too much more of his time, but today I would like to present Ken Krawchuk to present a Toastmaster's Guide to Self-Publishing Your Own Great American Novel. Let's give Ken a hand.
Thank you for that warm introduction, and thank you all for being here today. Let me set a couple expectations. We are going to be talking about my journey in publishing, self-publishing, my novel, Atlas Snow. I cannot possibly tell you everything that's involved in self-publishing. We'll be here all day for one part, all day for another part. I see Pat nodding. He's a self-published author as well. Can't do it. So what I'm going to be doing is really giving you an overview of everything that needs to be done. In essence, it's going to be... Tell me it doesn't work. There you go. To quote young Frankenstein, this is how I did it. Now, I was going to have handouts, but the thing is, on those handouts, there are only 2 words. And I didn't want to kill trees for 2 words, so I will point out when those words come along so you'll know what you need to write down. All right, let's start at the beginning. Hey, it worked that time. We're going to be looking at 3 different areas. Writing your own novel, what's involved in publishing it, and then the most important part, marketing it. And again, we're just going to go through the 3 of these as they applied to my journey in publishing Atlas Snow. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's start with the first one, writing it. What do you need to write a book?
Nice thoughts.
Well, we're getting to that. Before that, you need the tools of the trade. First thing you're going to need is a laptop or any kind of a computer, something to write it in. They're cheap. You can get them on eBay for $50. You can buy a brand new one from Dell for a couple $100. Something else you need? A word processor. I used Word. There's OpenOffice out on the web. It's free. You can download it. Any word processor will do. Most people have a computer. You can get a word processor free. Another thing, to design your cover, some people say, oh, I need Photoshop. No. You could spend thousands of dollars on software. Paint.net, it's free. You can download it. This cover you see in front of you, I did using Paint.net. Now, you can always go overboard. You can spend money on a fancy word processor, on a fancy machine, on fancy software. You could also, if you want, hire some geek to do it all for you. But I'm my own geek, so I put it all together myself. This is something you can do. This is not difficult. All the tools of the trade are out there, whether you want to have them free or whether you want to pay for them. The hard part is that you've got to sit down and write the thing. So the question becomes, what do you write? And now, I'm catching up with the audience here, you need the idea. The first thing you need is something to say. You need a point, because what's the point if you don't have a point? Take, for example, Pat Rocky. Raise your hand, Pat. Pat is a self-published author. He has a book out there, How to Manage Change. This is important because change, we face change all the time. That's one of the top 10 fears. Sometimes it's a little ahead of public speaking, sometimes a little behind. Pat had a point to make, how to handle that change. Me, I had a point to make in Atlas Snubbed. My goal here is, first of all, to tell a rousing post-apocalyptic science fiction tale. Second of all, is to present a way that we can reform our welfare state where we can still take care of the needy without bankrupting America, which is what's happening now. It's a story that needed to be told. Also, it's a sequel to Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged, which is the second most influential book ever written, according to the Library of Congress. So I have to build in an audience. I'm also planning my next book. How to Live Comfortably in the Woods is what it's about. It's based upon my experience as a hiker of the Appalachian Trail since I was a Boy Scout. I'm still out there. I take my grandkids out now. Isn't that cool? So I want to get all the information about that. I also have storyboarded out one more story, a child's tale. I call it The Little Spaceship That Could. It's about Hayabusa, the Japanese satellite, which went all the way out to Ikukawa, an asteroid out near Jupiter, and returned samples to Earth. The poor spaceship kept falling apart, but the spaceship persevered and made it back to Earth. Great child story. I got the storyboarded out. Not done yet. These are the points. You have to have an idea. There's something that you all know, something from your life, something that you thought that needs to get out there. That's what's important. Now, it's like a speech. Writing a book's like a speech. It's like giving a speech. You have to stand up there, and it's got to have a beginning, a middle, an end. It's got to have a structure to it. It's got to have everything you need. This picture, by the way, is from January 2000. I was doing officer training at the IRS building. Imagine that, a libertarian in the IRS. One week later, I cut my hair, and I never let it grow again. I used to be a long-haired hippie freak. Anyway, writing a book is just like creating a speech. And we all know how to do that, don't we? We've done it. You sit down, your speech has a point, beginning, middle, end, structure. You use humor. You aim it at an audience. You have a certain point of view. All the things you know about speaking, you apply to writing a book. So there you go. You have the tools of the trade. They're out there free, or you already have it. You have experience in putting together good stories. But there's a little more than that, because great stories don't just happen. What you really need to do is design your plot. And this is what I did with Atlas Snubbed. I started with my main idea, and I broke it up into sub-ideas. What happens is, oops, I hit the wrong button. What you do is you start with your main point, and you start designing backward. You come to the subpoints, which define. It's back. There's your main point. After that, you define the subpoints, which define that main point, which will lead up to it. And for each one of those, you break it down into the characters, the pieces of action that will happen, which all of them, when taken together, will lead to your main point. So I had the entire book all structured out before I ever started writing anything. Now, one thing people say, oh, don't you ever get writer's block? No, I have a roadmap. If I have writer's block, I know exactly where I'm at. I know what's going to happen. I know what happened before. I never lose track. This is only one page. This is about 15 pages. I even have one, it defines a person, all the attributes of a person, their personality, what they look like, their attitude towards life, their philosophy, and all those things control how your characters react. Sometimes characters get out of hand. You can't get a character to act out of character. Something you learn. But I can go off for a long time talking about that. Anyway, design the book. Design your plot first. Once you've done that, then comes the hard part. You gotta sit down and do it. It took me 9 years to come up with. It's a fat version and a skinny version. With the entire book, 700 pages. Takes a while. Maybe you're faster than I am, maybe not. up to you.
How many words, Ken?
It says so right up front. I believe the number is, it is 369,896. Well, 370K.
Yeah.
And the other one is smaller than that. They told me that this is too big, nobody buys big books anymore. So I cut it in half. That's the one that's on Amazon. All right. So, we've seen what it takes to write a book. Everybody have those things? Everybody have a computer? Everybody know how to write speeches? And now you know how to structure your plot. You can do this. I did it. Pat did it. If we can do it, right? Next comes publishing. Now, publishing has changed quite a lot lately. Once you have your masterpiece, there it is, your plot is structured and everything, you're ready to go out and find a publisher. But there's one thing about the publishing industry. It is very tight. It's very monolithic. It's very hard to get into. There's only a couple of little holes here and there to get into. They don't want to talk to individual authors. What they want is they want to talk to agents. So you have to find an agent, because the agent protects the publishing industry from people like you and me. You need to get through that. But do you? Do you have any idea what the royalties are for a regular author? If you're a published author, you get about 10%. The rest of that, gone. Gone into the publishing industry. Let's say you're a famous author. Guess what? 15%. Who wants to be a published author at that rate? Fortunately, well, when I finished my book, it was in 2010 that I finished it, I spent a year looking for an agent. There's a way to approach agents too. You can only do so many at a time, so often. I was doing 5 at a time, twice a month. And after a year, I was getting, sorry, not right for us at this time. But then in 2001, something happened. That monolithic structure, that started to fall down. My timing was perfect because at the same time I was ready to go out on my own, it was crumbling. What happened is it was suddenly a wreck. And do you know why? Pat knows why. There was this new kid on the block, a scrappy young startup called Amazon. They came in and they said, this is all wrong. They created a subsidiary called CreateSpace. This is the first word you need to write down. If you're going to be your own publisher, if you're going to self-publish, CreateSpace is the world for you. They're the ones who are going to make your great American dream come true. Because what CreateSpace does, you take the text of your document, your book, you take the cover, that's the full cover, I did it with paint.net, and then you upload it, the book to CreateSpace, you upload the cover, and after that, anybody can download a printed book from CreateSpace. It's called print on demand. It's new technology. It's 2011 it just came in, where anybody who wants your book, they can go online, order it, they will print up one copy and send it to the person. No inventory, no additional costs, and you know what the best part is? It's free! It doesn't get any better than that. So far, you see, we haven't spent any money. Unless you hired that geek, but that's up to you. So that's it. Now here's the best part. When someone on Amazon buys your book, 10%, 15%, a printed copy on Amazon, right off the bat, 30% is the lowest. So you're making 3 times what you can make as a published author per copy. But it gets better, because if you go directly through CreateSpace and not through Amazon, half the money is yours. 50% royalty. And wait, there's more, as they always say, because there's Kindle. Amazon pioneered the ebook industry. And that first Kindle, they're still doing it now in order to foster people to print on Kindle. 70% of every copy that's sold on Kindle, you get as a royalty. 70%. So for every 1 book you sell as a published author, you get 7 times as much royalty as an ebook. Isn't that cool? And there's more! Because out of this rubble, this is the capitalist American system. I love it. It's great because it fosters innovation, it fosters competition, and that's good for you and I. Because what came out of here is somebody else called Smashwords. Smashwords, this is the second word you need to write down, because Smashwords smashed Amazon as well. Let me stop. Lauren, do you have a question?
I just want to clarify. So you say if you go to Amazon and download a Kindle book, it's going to be an ebook.
Correct.
Okay, so you're not going to have a printed copy. You just have it on your.
Correct.
Which
The
is how I
Kindle is
do
an
it
electronic
online
version
anyway. Yeah, right.
on your Kindle, but you as the author get 70% royalty.
Right.
So my book sells for $9.99 on Kindle, $7 of that, $6.99.
Okay.
Makes it down to me.
And see, and I would pay $9.99.
And you know what? I don't have to do anything. I'm a lazy guy, you know? This appeals to me. All right, picking back up, Smashwords. They get better. Smashwords says, we can do it better than Amazon. Because Kindle is not the only one out there. There's Apple, iTunes, Barnes & Noble's Nook. There's Sony Reader, Kobo, the Diesel. There are all these other readers out there. Smashwords hits them all. Amazon only does the one. So these guys are better than Amazon. And even better, you know where it's even better? You get 80% from Smashwords. I love Smashwords. But there's more. I just can't stop. The whole world's just changed, because once they're out there, you can download these things. Now, that may sound trivial, but you as the author can download it in iTunes format, in Barnes & Noble's Nook format, in Sony format. You now have this arcane copy, which you look at, it's all gobbledygook, it's something that techie would appreciate, but you now have something that you can market separately. You don't need Smashwords anymore. You only need them to get you set up. I'll talk more about that later. Okay, so there you go. You've written it. You now know how to publish it. 2 words, create space, Smashwords. If you walk out, that's all you need to know. Yes, Sam?
You said on create space, but it's all done. Now you wanted to go into Smashwords. Can you just take what was created by published on Amazon?
Yeah.
How do you take it to Smashwords?
Same way. You upload your text, you upload your cover.
Oh, you do
Downloadable.
the same thing. You just don't redo it. You just keep everything you have.
Correct.
Okay.
My laptop there has everything I'm talking about on it right there. It's just a laptop.
Okay.
But on it, it's got all my books.
Okay, so it's the same thing.
Yes, sir.
And it does all the formatting for you?
No, you have to do that. You upload a PDF. That's where you may need a geek.
Okay.
But I've been a geek since I was 17. So.
But it has the INSB number on it.
Now you're getting into the details I'm not going to cover today. We'd be here all day talking about this. Okay, we've written it. We've now published it. Talk about marketing it. Oops, I got ahead of myself. There is no greater feeling than when that book finally comes up. And there it is, the day. Where's Roberta? Is she in the room? No. The day that the first copy came, my first proof, I stood there for 10 minutes, just like. You don't know how that feels. Oh man, I loved it, absolutely loved it. But publishing is a business. And like any business, you need everything. You need to set up a bank account. You got to juggle, which is what Mowgli here is showing us. You got to juggle all the different things. Bank account, tax matters, advertising, business cards. Speaking of business cards, I have a stack of business cards. Feel free to take 1 or 2 and pass them around. Business cards, everything. And you got to juggle everything about it when it comes to a business. And, of course, you need a website. You need Facebook. You need Twitter. You need PayPal account. You need all these different things. This is the screenshot of my book's website. This is the front page. Get your own copy. It takes you to an e-store where you can buy it directly from me. Click here, it'll take you to Amazon. There's a preview. You can read the first little bit of it. Buy it before you try it. And of course, I'm a geek. I put this together myself. The picture, it's the same picture off the front cover of the book. And I have to say, the train, I grew up with this train. This is an American Flyer. Remember American Flyer trains?
Yeah.
I grew up in that. If you look real close on the website, you can zoom in. You see it says American Flyer. Anyway, so my brother took those pictures for me. You don't need a geek. My brother's not a geek. He's a salesman. Anyway, so there you have it. You have your business set up. You got business cards. You've got PayPal, which means you can take credit cards. You've got your tax matters set up. You've got a website. You've got Twitter. You've got Facebook. You got all these different things. You're all set to go, right? You push the button. Oh, I forgot one important point. Guess what happens when you're selling a book through a website? Forget this end of the chart. Because I keep an inventory in the house. Not a lot, you know, a few dozen books. When I start running low, I order more. But for a printed copy, I get it at my rate, my internal rate, not Amazon's rate. So when I turn it around and sell it to you, including postage, on a printed copy, I make 85% royalty. And I'm undercutting everybody else's price. And if you want an e-copy, do you know what I do? I just send you an email with it in there. And every penny goes right into my pocket. 100% royalty. So for every book I'd sell as a published author, I can make 10 times as much on that same book. Or turn it around the other way, I could sell 1/10 the number of books and still make as much money. So where I might be able to sell 1,000 books as a published author versus 100 books on my website, I'm making 10 times as much money. You're not going to get rich doing this, by the way. Okay, so backing up. You got your website. You got everything set up. Your business is all set up. You're ready to roll. If you build it, they'll come, right? You need to get out there and do something about it. You need to get out there and speak on it, do presentations on it. This was in Scranton a year ago. This is a screenshot, that's why it's fuzzy. I've done radio shows where I've gone on the air. IQ 106.9, FM talk radio in Philadelphia. Other places, this is up in central Pennsylvania. You do book signings where you go out. Book signings are the best because, I mean, I've made over $1,000 in book sales in one day doing book signings. These things are great, and you gotta get out there. You have to be creative about it. You can do little things like putting your book in your sig line on your email. You go to different groups. If your book's about flowers, go to the flower show. If your book's about change, go to business shows. My book has political overtones. I go to political conferences. Make up your own mind. Be creative about it, because one thing I did, I got real creative. As a lot of you know, I was the Libertarian Party candidate for governor of Pennsylvania. And this year I ran as a write-in, and I did it for 2 reasons. One is right here in front of you. This is the hit counter from my website from earlier this month. Typically I get about 20, 30 hits a day on my website. But you see, as election day came up, I got like 8 times as many hits, and a commensurate rise in book sales. So that's one of the reasons why I ran for governor of Pennsylvania, was to promote the book. And it worked. Another reason, and this is something that applies to all of us, I am trying for accredited speaker in Toastmasters. That's their highest juried accreditation. But you need to talk to non-Toastmaster audiences. I've got to build in one. I'm talking about my book. And once you do one, it spreads. People say, oh, can you come to my group? Can you come to mine? Can you come to mine? I was invited last month to come speak to a convention about my book in Acapulco in February. All expenses paid! You can do this. I did it. You start small. It's only a couple of years since the book came out, and it's just spanning out. Be creative. Don't stop at one thing or another, whatever it may take. So there it is. In summary, what I went through writing it, what I went through publishing it, remember 2 words, create space and Smashwords, and marketing it. Things that I've done, what's worked. There's some things that haven't worked, but you'll find that out as you go along. As I said, I can talk about each one of these, a whole day on each one of these points. But instead, I just covered the bare necessities. So with that, let me open it up to questions for the rest of the time that we have. All right, let me sweep across the room. Richard.
You said earlier on, you said about flow charts for character development, but also, I guess, the body of your how you're going to finish the novel.
Yes.
You always, that's always something that you found will help you prevent writer's block.
Always. Always. 100%.
But that takes time, obviously.
It does. So this is what I do for a living. I'm a systems analyst, business analyst. What I do is I talk to high-level people, honchos, vice presidents, presidents, find out their vision for the company, and I translate it into something that techie people can understand. And I thank Toastmasters for that. I used to be the techie. Now I talk to vice presidents. You guys rock. But I have to do the same thing there. I have to design it. Because if you don't design it, you don't.
So you said if you email someone from your website, if you email them a copy, do you have to worry? How do you put your own DRM and?
Well, that's an interesting question. Amazon puts its own.
What was the question?
The question is, how do you put your DRM into it? Digital rights management. How do you stop people from copying it? Amazon Kindle has its own rights management, so I don't have to worry about that. The ones that I email, and that's his question. Right up front here, there's the page that I read earlier to Pat. It's copyright information. And it says, published by Ken Krawchuk, my address, website, email. Those that I send out to people, email to people, underneath it says, licensed exclusively to, and it has your name, your address, and your email address. So if you want to email that to your buddies, it's fine by me, but you're sending your name, your address, and your contact information out to the world. That's my own digital rights management. And you know what? A buddy of mine who's big on open web, he says, do you want your book read, or do you want to make money? Both. He says, no digital rights management. Let it go viral. Choice you have to make is the author. Okay, next question coming across the room. Yes?
A question about editing. Did you get someone professionally to edit it for you, or that?
I have two answers to that. The first one, if you look at about the book, in the back of the book, it has a list of about 20 people. When I was first done with it, I said, could you read this? Tell me what you think. And they went through and said, Ken, it doesn't flow here. And I came out with a better version. Once I was happy with that, then I went to somebody I know who's a professional editor, libertarian buddy of mine, Henry Whitney. Great guy. He said, I'll just do it, just to help you out. This guy got the eye for detail. And he went through it. And he gave me all kinds of ideas. I got a couple of nice foreshadowings in here he suggested. So he did more than editing. He suggested little plot changes as well. Then when he was done, I was paranoid. I went to, today in the, I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. One of the contestants in the Table Topics contest, his wife is a professional editor, and I've known her since before they were married. I knew her before I knew him. And I said, would you like to read it? She said, sure. And so again, it was free. I didn't pay for anything. Short answer is yes. Do not edit your own book. Ayn Rand did that with the predecessor book, and I have a website out there called.
The professional one where you pay, if you have to pay, is you should absolutely do that.
Find a friend. Who's the best grammarian in your club?
Yeah.
Well, that's something else I forgot to mention. When you're looking for places to market your book, go to your club and say, I'd like to do a presentation about my book. Can I come to the club here and do it? Yeah, sure. Because I did it at Positively Charged, and my evaluator here. Can't say positively charged without getting that response. She remarked on that, saying, this is a great way to market your book. Because the last meeting, I did a presentation on sell a product, was one of the advanced speeches. And I was selling my book. And this last one was interpretive reading, where you read a play, and I did a scene, a courtroom scene out of my book. So hopefully it's going to spur sales.
Thank you.
Sorry.
When you were trying to make the decision between using CreateSpace and WordPress and Barnes & Noble's version of this, what did you feel were the overwhelming advantages of going with CreateSpace?
Well, they weren't the first one I went with. And again, I can talk about this all day. I went to Lulu, first of all. The big advantage with CreateSpace is they are like this with Amazon. You put it on CreateSpace, you check a box, the next day it's for sale on Amazon. Nobody else can do that. That's why it's the one. There are lots of them out there. The one that's easiest, quickest, and maybe not the highest royalty, but that's where I started. So, I'm coming across the room. Let me come back. Anybody on this side? All right, coming back.
So once you put it on CreateSpace, doesn't prevent you from putting it anywhere else?
Correct. It is non-exclusive. Although there is a Kindle program where it has to be exclusive to Kindle. You get a higher royalty. And I had put in for it, but then maybe about a month later, I got an email from them saying, we found your book on atlassnub.com. We're dropping you from the Kindle Advanced program. Oh, well. Yes. Debbie.
That just gives me a second question. My first question was how fast when you uploaded did you get a hit and a purchase?
Well, a lot of people were waiting on it. because everybody knew it was coming. Because in the beginning, when I finished in 2010, I spent up till 2011 looking for an agent. People were like, Ken, when are we going to get it? So on November 28th, 2011, almost 3 years ago now, I stuck it out there. It took an hour. The first person to buy it was Michael Bednarik, who was the Libertarian Party presidential candidate in 2004. He was one person who was waiting on it. I don't know why he was the first. I don't know if he was watching or what, but he was number one. What a great first purchase, the presidential candidate.
So the second question was, since Kindle dropped you, did you ever get any hits from Kindle?
Oh yeah, I probably get more from Kindle than anything else. Kindle is number one, Amazon's number two, my website is number three. Who's four after that? Probably Barnes and Noble. Apple is low. People on Apple tend to do music and not books. Who else? Nook, yeah, Barnes and Noble is Nook. Let's see, Smashwords, several. CreateSpace, several. But they drop off dramatically. The big ones are Amazon, Kindle, my website. Yes, Lois.
It's not a question, but I want to make an announcement so I can step out. If anyone is an officer that has not gone to the credentials table, please do so. Anyone carrying a proxy, please make sure you go to the credentials table.
Thank you. Yes, Dan.
Yes, because I think it's important. I heard that when you do self-publishing for CreateSpace, that there's a limited amount of books you can order on hand. Is that right?
No.
So,
No.
why did someone tell me that? Like you only create when you self-publish.
I could order thousands of books and let them stack up.
Okay, you don't have to pay. Would you have to pay anything, or?
Well, you do have to pay for the books, but I get the author's rate. So instead of paying, like for example, if the printed copy on Amazon, the regular one sells for $20, $19.99. I can get it for about $5.
$5. Okay.
$4. I don't remember the exact numbers. It changes a little bit. And I'm on my second edition now. I created a couple typos, things like that, and I reduced the page count a little bit, which reduced the price a little. I haven't done a comparison. I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing this to get the ideas out. If you think you're going to get rich publishing, well, so far it hasn't happened to me. This is take Roberta out to dinner money once a month. This is viewer money. But dude, it's taking my wife out to dinner. It's free. I see this as part of my retirement plan because wife and I like to travel. So I see us traveling around the country. I got my gray wooden box over there filled with copies of books. By the way, it is, if anybody wants some. One other thing I forgot to mention, I don't know if you saw it outside, I have a banner advertising my book. I take that to book signings and conventions and things like that so that people can find me. Pat.
I want to just expand on something that
Please.
Joanne asked, and that's about the editor. Please, if you're going to publish a book, pay a professional editor. Do not ask your friends to edit it because they're probably not good enough. I'm going to tell you real quickly how I did it. I looked for professional editors and I found somebody through Toastmasters. So there were 3 people. They all did test edits. I asked them to do a test edit. One editor was going to charge me $2,200. The other one was going to charge me $2,500. Another one is going to charge me $800. I have 2 adult children who are professional writers. I gave them the test edits. I said, I'm not going to tell you what they offered me, read what they want to charge me, but read these and tell me which one. They say both, they were in separate rooms. They said they both came to the same conclusion separate to each other. They said this editor edited well, but did not change your voice. Who was she? The $800 editor. So find a professional, and she was wonderful.
Okay. You know, I'm looking at.
I like this.
My timer is talking. So one other thing I mentioned is when I ran for governor of Pennsylvania, I have my flyer, picture of me and the family camping. On the back, at the bottom, it says, "The separation of society and state is a brand new political concept that defines a workable alternative to the welfare state and overregulation. Please refer to Ken's platform novel, Atlas Snubbed, for a detailed example." So I had volunteers all over the state advertising for my book. I have these up here. If somebody wants one, picture of me and my family camping. But it's a political thing, and I'm not going to hand out political things. But they're here if they want.
Trade you some parts for one.
Sure. Well, anyway. I'll leave them up here. And that's a great picture of the family. We had to Photoshop out the picture of the whiskey bottle. Questions? We doing okay?
Actually, no, we have to go.
Oh.
Where are you going?
To the next session. So, the other item that I was asked to mention is that remember to go to the credentialing desk if you have not. So on your way to the next room, please go to the credentialing desk.
Hang on, before I lose control of the room, if you need to get a hold of me, this may be something else you may want to write down. Ken@kenk.org, shortest email in the world, ken@kenk. My phone number, 215 Krawchuk, if you can spell my name. Never before noon on weekends, though. We sleep late. And my website, atlassnubbed.com. You go out and take a look at it. You have my card, so you can get a hold of me that way.
So we can't call you now?
That's true. I'm not there anyway. Thank you very much. This is the end. I appreciate the great audience. If there's nobody after, I'll stay for a little bit.